Our next session is a very, very long-awaited session. I know a lot of us are engineers. Some of us are entrepreneurs. Some of us are wannabe entrepreneurs. Some of us are too afraid to openly admit that we want to be entrepreneurs. It's just something about being an engineer that, this is what I can do, this is what I can build. But to go out into that unknown territory to say, I want to make something where there was nothing before. It is possible for engineers to become very successful entrepreneurs. We have Arvind Jain with us today, who has built a unicorn. You're an engineer, you're dreaming of building a unicorn, you're in the right place. No dream is too big. I am absolutely thrilled today to introduce Arvind Jain, CEO and the founder of Glean, as the closing keynote speaker at our conference today. He is an alumnus of IIT Delhi. Glean is a cutting-edge entrepreneur, enterprise search and AI platform that has quickly risen to unicorn status. I hear that it has raised $260 million in September last month and has a valuation of over $4.6 billion. Let us hear Arvind share his insights on the future of work, technology, and how engineers build unicorns. Welcome, Arvind.
Yeah, no, I don't need a clicker. Well, thank you so much for having me here. Really excited to share some of my journey and experiences of building startups. With the folks here, it's always great to be, with the community of fellow IITians and be able to, talk to you. So I was asked to share what are the tips, that I have, to help folks who are actually trying to become an entrepreneur. What are some of those secrets? So people wanted me to share those, with the folks here. And I told them that I don't think I have any advice, for people, but I can actually share some of my journey and some of the lessons that I learned as I embarked on some of these entrepreneurial journeys. Building a startup, is sort of very different in some ways than building products, being an engineer, being a product person. There are a lot of new skills, that you have to learn, and they're also it's a journey which is a little bit more complicated. There are lots of ups and downs in a journey of being a startup founder or a CEO. So I'll share some of the interesting observations that I had over the years as we built, as I worked at many startups in the past, as well as starting my own companies like Rubrik and now Glean. The first thing that was one of the main learnings, and this is what I actually tell any budding entrepreneur, is starting a company requires you to have strong belief and conviction in your idea. I always had a desire to be an entrepreneur, starting with when I graduated from IIT. I never really wanted to do a job. I always wanted to actually have my own startup and company. And I had ideas all the time, good ideas that I would, I got excited about and I wanted to then start a company on it. But I would, I would think more, and keep thinking about those ideas, and ultimately I would actually convince myself that was not a good idea. That there'll be some problem, there'll be some competition, somebody would come and or why would somebody buy a product from a startup? They would be more comfortable buying products from a large company. And so that's one of the things that engineers we do tend to doubt ourselves more, and oftentimes people say that 90% of the startups fail, and I like to tell people that no, it's not 90%, it's 99%. Because there are all those startups, that were, in the mind of an engineer, which, they actually killed themselves, before they actually even, went out, to try to raise funds or anything. So when you start a company, you have to have that real belief that, what the idea that you have is something that's important, and nobody in the world can convince you otherwise. In fact, before we started Glean, I was talking to the venture capital, folks in the industry, discussing like raising funds for Glean. And I was actually an experienced entrepreneur. Like before that, I built a successful company called Rubrik, which had $500 million in revenue. By then, I was known as one of the hottest enterprise software companies in Silicon Valley at that time. And my idea was to build a search product for the enterprise, build a Google for people in their work lives. And as I actually started to discuss that idea with investors, most of the people were not at all excited about it. In fact, there were investors. There's one investor who told me that, hey, here's a blank check. You fill it in. You can take as much money as you want because I believe that you can build a company, but just promise me that you won't work on enterprise search. And that's interesting, right? Because you see like how negative people are on something that you think is a problem. But luckily for me, I had the conviction. I had the conviction because I saw everybody that I knew of complained about not being able to find things at work. So it didn't matter to me what was the TAM or the market or like what the smart investors think. I knew there was a problem that if I actually build a product in this, then everybody who I know is going to benefit from it. So I was able to stay on it, and which actually then of course worked well for us. The second lesson that I had is if you're going to start a company, then you have to have a very strong learning mindset. First thing that you need to know is that you're not the best person for all the tasks that you have to do at a startup. An example, so when we started Rubrik, before that I was one of the engineering leaders at Google, and I had probably hired like 500 to 1,000 people during the course of my decade-long journey at Google. And I used to think that I have magical recruiting powers. Like I can go and talk to anybody and convince them to join my project teams, and they will join, and then and these are best people in the world. So I was very, very confident of being a great recruiter. But when we started our company Rubrik, I talked to like 50 people in the first 2 months, and every single person said no to me. Nobody wanted to actually join, even as an early founding employee of a startup that I was starting. And that's when I actually learned that, it was all, those 10 years when I was hiring people, it was Google doing its magic and not me. Like it was a brand of Google which was bringing people, and I had to learn. And I had to actually learn how to actually recruit, how to convince people, how to actually share my excitement and passion about the idea and actually bring them along the way. And so you discover this a lot. Like, I think sometimes, we are overconfident, and, you have to just always remember that we have to learn, we have to actually gain a lot of skills that you don't gain as an engineer. You will have to do like as you sort of become a startup founder or a CEO. But then also like it's important, like, for me, like I can't imagine like being at a stage like this. I don't think I'm going to be ever, the great speaker, which is fine, but actually I don't fear the stage anymore. Like I can actually come here and I can talk to people, share my journey. When I was actually growing as an engineer, I had no confidence to be on the stage. And that's like as an introvert, as a, this is a difficult thing for me. But it happens, as humans, we can actually get ourselves to learn and new tricks, like even if they're actually something that we feel very, very, very bad at. So you need both the humility of knowing that you have to learn to lot of skills to actually be a successful founder, but at the same time you need to have that confidence that yes, you can learn new things. I'm actually learning how to be a CEO, and over time, I feel that I'm actually learning all those skills. The third thing about building a company is you have to know, of course, that as you can't build any company alone by yourself. You have to build a great team of people, and you have to remember that your role, like even if you're a founder, even if you're the CEO, your role is actually very, very limited in a company that you're going to build. If a successful company is going to have thousands of people, and then when there's 1,000 people in the company, your role in creating success for that company is less than 1%. Like assuming that everybody is working the same 40 hours and making big impact, like you have a very, very small role to play, and the company is nothing more than its people. So when you start a company, you have to pay a lot of attention, in terms of hiring the best people, and don't think of them as the employees and yourself as the owner or the founder. Like it's the company is nothing more than all the people that work in it, and you build the company with all the people. Everybody is the owner in the company, and just keep that mentality. When you keep that, that is when you'll be able to attract the best talent, and build best products with them. One of the things that I also learned about building a startup is that it's very important to have mission alignment. You have to, when you build a team, it's not just like you don't hire the best engineers, you don't hire the best product managers. You actually hire people who care about building the product that you're trying to build. When you do that, that's when you're going to actually have missionaries who are going to be with you, with the company, the whole time. There's no startup, that where the journey is fast and quick. Like you want people to stay with you, and build the company for the long run. So always look for folks who actually care about the product that you're trying to build. That's a very, very important skill that we look for when we hire people. The fourth thing about building a startup is you have to, like people have different reasons for building a company. Sometimes you do it because like it's sexy, it gives you a lot of pride in the sense of accomplishment. Sometimes you want to do it because you want to make tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. The fascinating, you see all these founders becoming billionaires or millionaires, and that's an exciting thing, for people. But I actually feel that a startup journey is actually quite stressful. It's a long journey. There are lots of ups and downs as you build these companies. Typically, you have to commit a long time of your life, 10 plus years to achieve, some level of success in your startup. You don't get to build something and sell your company in just less, in 1 year or 2 years. Those are going to be, pretty small outcomes. And you have to think hard, if you're a good engineer, do you really want to go through that journey, versus, work at one of the best companies in the world, because they're all going to pay you a lot. And you have a good life as an engineer. There is really no reason to actually do a startup, to actually gain financial success. There have to be other reasons, and those other reasons could be that just building a product, is fun for you. Building a team, getting people who you really like to work with, and working with them together to build a product. It can be a really fun, exciting journey. Or there is that pride, that sense of accomplishment that you want to have by solving a problem that matters to people. And when you have those, when you have these reasons to start a company, you will actually do much better, as opposed to if your goal was just financial success. Because again, as I said, the startup journey is going to go through a lot of ups and downs, and oftentimes you'll feel that, hey, was this the right choice that I made? I've started a company, I'm struggling, to actually build the product or hire the people or build the team, and you keep thinking about your opportunity costs. If I stayed at Meta or Google, I would have made so much money in that time. So it sort of becomes a very, very difficult thing, and and oftentimes that's when startups fail and you give up. So you have to start with the model of that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to build this company because I'm going to enjoy every moment of building that company, and all the struggles. You have to sort of have that mindset of an athlete, that I'm going to actually overcome all the barriers and that come my path. It's sort of like, the same thing as, like a lot of you probably have run marathons, and then why are you running it? Like, it's sort of like, the only thing that I can imagine, like when you do a marathon is, you're just going to go through pain, and, you have to sort of like train for it, and it's going to be a tiring experience, it's going to be difficult, physically. But people like to do it because I think there's a sense of accomplishment, that actually makes them feel good. And the startup is actually no different than that. Like it comes with a lot of like, as I said, stress and ups and downs. And then finally, how do you build a long-lasting company that has an enduring, impact, on the industry? You have to think about when you start a company that this company is going to actually last longer than your own career. When you have that mindset, that is when you are going to actually build these amazing institutions, that are out there. There's a lot. It takes a lot to build a great company. It starts with people, but it's also about creating the right culture inside the company. You have to foster a culture of innovation. Make people believe in the mission that you have. And one of the things that I'm actually feel very strongly about when you build a company is you have to focus on the customer and the problem and not competition. Most of the times entrepreneurs give up their journey because they feel that they won't be able to win because there's some other company that's building the same product, and they think that other company is going to do a better job than you. And that's the worst thing that you could be doing to yourself. There is no startup in Silicon Valley that failed in their first 3 years or 5 years of their journey because of some other company. That just doesn't make any sense. You succeed or fail because of your own work. Like, if you're going to build a good team, good product, and you're going to actually find success as long as you're doing a good job. There's no other startup that matters, because I'll just explain to you mathematically. Like, imagine that you are in a market. There are 10 million companies that you can go and sell your product to, and there are 5 startups all doing the same thing. Just imagine, like, what's the probability of you hitting that same startup, like, at the same customer? Like, it's almost negligible, right? So the point here is that success of companies are largely based on their own execution, and not like what the rest of the market is going to do to them. So that's just like some of the lessons that I've learned of as I've sort of transitioned myself from being a developer and an engineer to becoming an entrepreneur. So I hope some of these lessons are useful to the team, and I would love to like connect with anybody who wants to chat more with me about this. Thank you so much for having me.